Alright, it is Saturday up at the tiny house, and I'm just going to do a I'm back video. So, I've been doing a lot of projects at the tiny house, but I really haven't been filming anything. Not really sure if there's any excuses why. One of the reasons I haven't been doing any projects to the tiny house, most of my projects have been on the outside of the tiny house. One of those reasons is because with the COVID lockdowns and the stores changing policies and things like that, and shortage of materials on certain things, I just haven't felt like going into the stores to buy any of that stuff. So I really haven't been doing projects where I have to buy material. I've been doing projects around the tiny house where I've basically just been doing improvements to it. The land, the roads, the tiny house itself. Couple of upgrades that we've done to the tiny house and the land is on the roads this year. I planted clover and rapeseed and chicory and brassica along the roads and in my food plots and around the ponds that I dug. I dug some ponds. That's another improvement that we did around the land, and we planted a bunch of wildflowers and kind of made it really look pretty ornate out there. It's looks pretty good. We'll do a little um, some of the improvements to the land is we moved the RV, we cleared around the area of the tiny house, we've cleared out a bunch of woods and created some really cool seating for on hot days. It's really shady and nice in here, so you can kind of relax and get out of the sun using these egg chairs that I'm sitting in right now. We have a couple of them. It's just kind of a cool spot to come out and sit and relax, work on your computer, read a book, whatever you want to do, but it's a very zen space that I enjoy being in. The list that we've done to the tiny house is I did expand my water catchment. I've added 375 gallons to the 140 gallons, so now we're able to store close to 500 gallons total, 600 gallons I think. I added up yesterday. Total with the inside was like 640. So I can keep like 640 gallons on site at all times. So that's been a real game changer for us. It's been a dry year, but we've managed to keep enough water catching off of the roof of the tiny, which is not a big space. We've been keeping it at a point where there's been no real, we haven't really had to ration the water use. It's just if you want to take a long shower, take a long shower. The water's been here. So that's been a really cool expansion. I did expand the solar, 3 banks now with 6 batteries, which that's been really nice. I haven't had to really adapt to a lack of power. I haven't ran the generator much this year, except for the really hot days when I was running air conditioners. But the the solar itself has more than enough power for me to stay for 4 or 5 days without having to tap into a generator, which has been kind of a game changer. Inside of the tiny house, some of the changes that I made is that I added a propane refrigerator, apartment size refrigerator. It's a little big in the tiny house, but it makes perfect sense where I put it. So I remodeled it a little bit. I changed where the stove was to where the refrigerator was, and I changed the refrigerator to where the stove was, if that makes any sense if you've watched any of the other videos. But it's in a really good spot. It makes for a really good cooking area now. The fridge is right next to the stove, but then to the stove I have the largest surface area to work on in the whole kitchen. So that's been a pretty cool change. I added a Nature's Head composting toilet to the tiny house, and this is going to sound cliche to anybody who's watched any videos on the composting toilets, but it absolutely is. It's everything it says it is. Like, it doesn't stink, it's easy to clean, it's easy to maintain. You hardly ever have to manage it or deal with it. The urine catch, you have to dump and you have to pour out periodically, like maybe once a weekend. Um, but all in all, the the waste that goes in there, it absolutely does smell like dirt. It does compost down. It the capacity is way higher than I ever thought it would be. It it just really does perform like the way people say that it performs. I was skeptical. It's a small unit. I didn't know if it would hold up the way I thought it would, but it really has.